that my mother had born to her equals a dot. What is it, Trent?
Yo, man, that's the formula.
I don't know what episode this is. Episode 8, episode 9.
Episode to be determined.
I just was going to try to look. I think it was 7 that we recorded last time, and that one hasn't even been posted yet either. But episode, whatever it is, what's going on, bro? How you been?
Life's good, man. Figuring it out. You?
Yeah,
Yeah.
life's good, man. I feel like we have a lot to unpack. It's been a while since we've recorded one of these. I think our lives are in, I imagine, a little bit different places. And last time we recorded, I said it's been like a month. Different places in life. But no, yeah. How's Chicago this time of year? What have you and Steph been up to? How's work? You're a few months in now to Salesforce, which I think was still pretty new last time we recorded.
Yeah, I think the last time we recorded was like my first month. So it's been like 5 months, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, things are changing fast every day. It's always funny, like when you start a job and you start to see people doing it, you're like, oh, this is gonna be easy. And then you start getting into it and you're like, okay, this is maybe tougher than I thought. And as somebody and I think most people are like this, where they just want to be good at everything, it kills me when I'm not doing well. And like, I would say that I've had more harder months than I've had easier months when it comes to like each month I have to restart and re-hit a new quota of I have to get what's called 8 qualified opportunities. And that's just like conversations that could lead to a buying decision. And so at the beginning of the month, if you start to take that first week easy, next thing you know, you're behind and maybe you didn't set yourself up with meetings for the first week of the month. So that means you're behind then too. So it's been challenging for sure. I think it's been testing me in ways that I need to be tested. It's made me get scrappy with like finding opportunities too. So I think that's something that's good, but a lot of testing out new things, trying different techniques. So it's a lot of trial and error right now. But things are good. Chicago is, even though there's a lot of conversation about Chicago in the world right now, so we'll see how it is soon here. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. What's you?
What's new with me? I have a couple things I want to circle back on, but we'll get to there. What's new with me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know, man. A lot's probably new since we last at least recorded. Obviously, we keep pretty close in touch, but I think a lot of good stuff is happening from a business perspective on my end as well. I know a hot topic in our conversations have been about owning your calendar, which I think is something that I've gotten super good at, and I'm like excited to discuss. But yeah, what's been new with us? Yeah, visible stuff is good. Caroline and I have been traveling a bunch. We have a bunch of weddings this month. We have another wedding this weekend in Milwaukee. So we're heading down to Milwaukee tomorrow at like noon. So we'll wave at your Milwaukee homies while we're there.
Didn't get the invite, man.
I mean, hey, if you want to pull up to one of my high school homegirls' weddings with staff, we'll let you crash the party sneaking through the back door. But that's good. Like I said, we've been traveling lots. We're going to Florida next week, which is going to be super nice. I feel like that's the first time in what feels like forever that I've done just like a true vacation where I could kick my feet up and leave the work at home and sit by the pool and drink wine and play cards, and going to try to do my best to truly not do any work. I think we talked about recording a podcast, which is actually where we recorded our first ever podcast, in like the business center at the same place that we're going and staying. So that could be like
And
a
the
cool
lawnmower was going off.
Yeah, that's right. And that was just like on Zoom too. So I mean, the
Yeah.
progress and the changes over time. But I've been busting my ass from a work perspective. It's crazy that it's only the 9th of October because my goal has been to try to get everything for the month of October done before we leave next Thursday, which I'm honestly feeling pretty good about. I have a couple new clients that came on this week. So the first couple of days was filling out what the work was going to look like and building the overall strategy for the coming months, which is like my favorite part of an engagement, getting
Mhm.
to like foresee what the process is going to look like and determine a plan for like the next few months. So now that that part's out of the way, the last few days have been dedicated just to like head down, knocking the work out.
Mhm.
But all to be
Yeah.
said, going to be ready for a vacation after these first couple weeks of the month.
Yeah. I hear you. Damn.
But
You're busy.
all good stuff,
Busy,
all good
busy man
stuff.
over here.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
feels like a good busy though. I was thinking, I don't know. I've said so many times, like, yo, I'm trying to not say, I'm not trying to say the word busy, which I think is like
Yeah.
fine. Like, I do want to avoid it, but I feel like right now is a good busy where I
Yeah.
mentioned the owning the schedule stuff is like, I feel like
Mhm.
I have a much better handle of my capacity and like I'm still
Yeah.
pushing that capacity, but I feel like I have a good gauge on
Yeah.
everything that I'm actually doing. I feel organized in the stuff that I'm doing, and I feel like I'm trimming a lot of the fat, so to say. So it doesn't just feel like I'm doing busy work shit or like doing stuff just because I got to get it done. Like I feel like I'm really ahead of the ball, and again, still doing a lot, but it doesn't feel as debilitating. Is that the word?
Yeah.
Debilitating. It's not like bogging me down as heavy because I'm like waking up, like do my morning routine. I've been like getting to the coffee shop for a
Yeah.
handful of hours. I feel like I'm like head down, you know, working off a list, knocking shit off rather than just like running around like a chicken with my head cut off. So busy, but
Yeah.
I'm kind of
Yeah.
rambling here, but a good busy, it feels like.
So it sounds like it's kind of like a mix of having structure with like daily structure of just things that get you feeling right for the day and make you excited for the day. And then it's also like you have your lists and managing your time in those and not just like wasting time. I know kind of what's changing for myself, at least is how I perceive it, is the same as like for you, where it's like maybe before I was spending time thinking too much instead of just like jumping into it and doing it quickly and doing it to the best of my ability so I can move on instead of like,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
It's
that's
interesting.
perfectly said.
Yeah. It's interesting how that once that shift happens, where it's just like, I'm not going to think about this stuff anymore, like on why I should do it. I'm just going to do it. How good that is for you.
Dude, it's crazy because I don't know how in depth we're going to get on here about how we've kind of been working together on the visible stuff in the sales process. But
Yeah.
just to give some quick detail on that so I can go into like an anecdote and why that's been good for me. We've obviously been working together on some of the stuff that I do with my business and working on a process for you to implement a sales strategy from what you've kind of picked up in your career and do it kind of your own way. And
Hmm.
as long as I've ran my business, I haven't done a ton of sales. Like every client
Yeah.
that's came in has been through word of mouth or whatever the case may be, but never in any sense am I like doing cold outreach or trying to really
Hmm.
pitch the value of the business. Usually people that come in are already, warm leads and,
Yeah.
trust my value and things just from who the
Hmm.
connection came from. But ever since we started working on that, like I said, just kind of like creating a sales system to start bringing potential clients in to do some of the work
Hmm.
that I already know that I'm good at, it's kind of convinced me or it's allowed me to commit to processes a bit better. I don't even know if we've gone
Yeah.
super in detail on that, but it's like there's a lot of question marks and there's a lot of parts of the
Hmm.
process that I'm kind of just winging or have
Yeah.
been winging at least from like a pricing perspective, from like a client intake perspective, from like a, you know,
Hmm.
reporting perspective, from all these different like elements of me running my business that I've kind of just
Yeah.
shrugged off because, I'm working with so and so who handles the client communication, or I'm working with so and so and I'm just kind of the behind the scenes guy and I don't have to mess with all that stuff. And
Yeah.
I think that's kind of playing into my confidence with some of this stuff and my feeling of organization because the last couple months, ever since we started talking about the sales process, I've been taking
Hmm.
the time to really get my ducks in a row and feel confident in the process A to Z. And
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just causing a lot of dots to feel like they're connecting, and it makes me excited about this stuff. And I know same with you. So I don't know, full circle with the schedule, owning the schedule, and dots just kind of connecting with the business that we've been working on.
Yeah. It's also so nice, like, and I this kind of gets into one of the topics that we wanted to talk about, but like when I feel like it's very hard sometimes when you're in a larger company to get some of those processes laid in because it's like you can't use this system, you can't use that system, blah blah blah, like all these different variations because it's like, well, this is how we do things. And it's so liberating when you're doing it yourself. You're like, screw all that. I'm going to try this. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, until you find that thing. And I think that's just like when you're doing it on your own, it allows you to do the same process of life, that trial and error, and find those things that work for you. Because like I mean, I think I mentioned this on one of the calls, like at Salesforce, you think of Salesforce, one of the things I was most excited for is like all this technology. And you would think like we sell all these products that automate your life. And as a salesperson, like I can't use automation for emails because like someone had messed it up in the past where they ruined a deal. And that's just because some people take advantage of things. So like there's a reason for all these rules, which like I can understand that because there is a lot of dumbasses that like get an opportunity and then they wreck it for somebody. But it's so nice when it's yours, you can be like, no, I can trust myself to use all the tools that are there and stuff. So it and I think that's like one reason why I even mentioned you today. I just texted you like I'm so excited about working with you because I noticed that I'm like I can do whatever I want. Like Casey is gonna let me do
Yeah.
my thing and he's gonna do his thing and we're gonna trust each other and it's just gonna happen the way it's supposed to happen. So
Well, it just allows us to go back to the basics because I was thinking as you were speaking about you thinking being in a world like Salesforce is going to enable you to use all this technology and have access to, the best resources and the best mentors. And to some extent, that's true. Like, I definitely think that that's a value in
sure.
working at a big company like I do too. But it's like just going back to the basics is, I think, the biggest benefit of getting to run your business because the separation of what SEO means in my 9 to 5 career versus what it means for the kind of conversations that we have, entirely different conversation. And I don't mean to
Yeah.
necessarily get into the details of why that is, but just in that space and like the SEO space under an enterprise umbrella or really any profession, it's always a list of yellow tape and things that you have to get around
Yeah.
of the processes that are in place because of
Hmm.
XYZ, never just going back to the basics to say, well, what's needed here, what's going to work. And especially
Yeah.
if you're operating somewhat of a small team, you should be able to like make those shifts based on what makes sense. But there's
Yeah.
such a separation and to go, I mean, there's a few of the topics that we discussed getting into today. We're kind of covering them all in a sense in kind of one umbrella, but one of them was about ongoing education and just why it's important to
Yeah.
sharpen your tools outside of the resources that are given to you in your career space, um, or just like the expected resources like Salesforce in your case, just because I don't know, man, there's just like so much, the conversation is just so different about like even what SEO is in
Hmm.
my corporate career compared to like what it is when I work with clients on a one-to-one basis that it doesn't even seem like the same thing. And I'll bring in news that's like breaking news in the SEO world that is all over my feed based on who I'm tapped into and like the network that I have of people who do this outside of a 9 to 5. And it's stuff that people that who are supposed to be the best in, the world at it don't know anything about. So it's like we've talked a lot lately about the value of continuing to pursue. It doesn't even have to just be SEO. I guess if it's just like a topic that you're interested, that you have
Yeah.
a system to already get information from, make sure to always get a second opinion, I guess, outside of those systems that, you know,
Yeah.
are in the Kool-Aid that you're to be drinking at the company you work for.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like that's the thing is it you get so niche, like you said, they might be the best in the world or they're supposed to be in your field. Like where you work and where I work are regarded as very great companies and stuff like that. But you start to have conversations when you're doing this research and you're like, you might be the best at this thing, but it's a very niche thing because it aligns with what aligns for us as a company. And there's still this whole world, even though we might be the leader in it. So it's interesting, like you said, like we have guys that come in from competitors and their perspective on things is so different. And they're like, well, why would you do it this way? And they're excited to learn and they're learning, but it's so interesting hearing like, well, we thought about it this way. And then you start to break down why that is. And you're like, oh, that makes sense too. And also there's just like a lot of buzzwords always for things too. Whatever niche you end up getting in, and then you start to use those and like then you go start talking to clients and you're like, well, I talk about it this way. And I think that's like one thing that's been fun about what we're doing too is like, SEO. And I'm like, I can understand what you're saying to an extent, but at
Yeah.
some point I'm like, I'm just a dumb guy here. I'm just trying to like dumb it down because I know the person we're going to talk to is thinking the same way as me is like, I just want it to be at the top of Google. So
Yeah.
it's funny when you start to like get in these different worlds, how you realize like so many people use so much different language. And it's the same thing for like sports too. How someone attacks a pick and roll is called something different at every location that you go. It's still like pick and roll defense, but depending on what it is. So yeah, it's interesting.
I'm interested to know in your experience in the time you spent,
Yeah.
I don't know what best way, like I keep saying like your corporate career, like your 9 to 5. I don't know what the best way to say this is, but like, do you feel like there's some element of, in this, of course, varies depending on who the conversation or who the manager is, but some level of you want to ask questions and they just kind of expect you to know the answer. Like you don't want to sound like the guy who doesn't know what's going on. Do you ever feel that in your workplace?
I don't know. I
I think
mean,
that probably you personally don't now that I think about it, but like I think that
that's
that's
I will say like even for somebody like myself, that does happen because sometimes they've mentioned like a big piece of conversation right now is MCP servers. I heard it like in a bunch of calls and I'm like, I didn't have a chance to ask my counterpart, my AE, what that meant. And I finally like got him in a one-on-one and I was like scared to ask him because it's like I've heard him say
it's
it
too
10
far
times
gone.
now. Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, there is times like that for sure. And sometimes when you're just having like the conversation in the office too with people that are at the same level as you, usually I end up asking, but I know there's a lot of people that feel that way, and I do feel that way at times. So, is that something that happens to you too, or?
I just was curious. Yeah, it of course does. I think it happens to everybody in the space. I think that's just like a weird energy that exists with getting a position at a prominent
Yeah,
company. It's like the barrier to entry always feels so significant. Like how much are you gonna wow me to like get on the
yeah,
other side of this company wall to work with us and then recognize that none of us really know what we're talking about, but we just pretend that we do so we can seem smarter than you. So it's just that's what I think am also so excited about in building this business up on our own. And I've told you this a ton, like my biggest thing around building visible is building it around the education of the service and just like general
yeah,
transparency. It's something that the light bulbs went off for me, especially in the last couple months, because I'm like, I've worked in spaces for so long that you don't want to be the guy that doesn't understand what's going on and you kind of just have to
yeah,
fake it till you make it. And from like a selling a client perspective, I think that that's the worst way to go about it. It's like how relationships get sour because you're charging X amount. You might be a good salesman and get them on your team, but they don't really know what's going
yeah,
on. A couple months in, you might have pocketed that cash, but they're starting to ask questions and you don't really have anything to
yeah,
show. for what you've been doing. So I think that's just like the funny comparison between the two
For sure.
is like, why would you not say everything outright from the get go? Like, not to get too in depth into our process, but it's like,
Yeah.
I want to teach the client along the way because
Hmm.
if they start to feel empowered because they understand what's happening, and then they also trust you and your value because you're not trying to like hide behind the buzzwordy
Yeah.
stuff like you talked about. So I know that kind of blends a few different things just between like experiences in that culture and outside of it, but it's just like
Hmm.
another reason why doing this I feel like is so exciting because we get to build something different than the culture that we're maybe experiencing on our own in our own
Yeah.
companies.
Well, and that's the thing, like, that's why especially sales gets such a bad rep. And for somebody that's been on a sales floor for 2 years now or 3 years, whatever, 2.5, whatever it is, you see that every day. Like the stereotype is proven every time you step on a sales floor because the thing they care about is quick cash. Now, the really good people, they care about the things you're talking about of the education piece and like the actually walking you through, making sure you understand it. And I think companies also do a good job of kind of blurring those lines and constantly changing things so that people can't fully understand because their employees don't even understand it. And like, I think to be a good salesperson, you don't need to always know every detail about something, but it's putting resources in front of them like yourself and just guiding that conversation to make sure the customer feels comfortable with what they need and what they want. And that kind of goes into even like the education piece. To give you an example, I think I was just telling you about this. I was looking for a sales coach to help me with like just making sure I can deliver those messages. And so I meet with this guy, and he has me meet with his rep first. And I get in this conversation. It's supposed to be a 15-minute meeting. It lasts 45 minutes. And like people do that all the time where they're like, "Oh, let me just get 15 minutes," then they take 30. Well, to me, you just broke my trust because now I think you're a liar right off the bat. And then you start just telling me all these things that you think I want to hear. And like, especially as a salesperson, you start to understand what's a lie and what's not when someone's trying to sell you something, especially if you read books on it. And so this guy, I could just tell he was fucking lying to me. And so I was like, well, get out of that. I'm like, if I was going to make my decision just based on this, I would say no. So then I reach out to the actual guy that would be doing the training. I'm like, hey, let me just get 15 minutes with you. I didn't really get what I needed from that first call. So we talked. It was good. He seemed good. I liked what he was saying, but still there was kind of something off. And then I get back into the last call with the rep to sign the papers, which this was going to be like a decent amount of money I was going to spend. He drops a bomb on me of like, oh yeah, he's going to be gone for this amount of time, but we'll sign right now. And I'm like, dude, you lie. Like, why didn't you tell me that? You should, if you would have told me in the first meeting, hey, he's going to be gone for this amount of time. Like as soon as you sign, you knew when I was going to sign. Like it was all predetermined. You couldn't have just told me that. Then I was like, all right, you guys are just lying to me. You just want my money. So like, I'm not signing this paper. And it goes into that exactly what we're saying. It's just like, you got to be upfront, especially when you're working with people that have been executives. Like I hear these young salespeople always being like, I'm gonna do this, and this executive, he's gonna sign. These executives, they've been around the block. They've had sales reps screw them over more times than not.
Yeah.
So like they can see through that stuff, and it always ends up badly. But
The irony
I
of like
just
a bad salesman trying to sell a salesman is funny.
yeah, it was crazy. But I'll give you another example of a good opportunity. So like we had a call first call was like 2 weeks ago. This guy gets on, he knows exactly what he wants, so he runs through it. He's like, I need you to come back with this, blah, blah, blah. We get into the next meeting. This guy is just like ripping everything apart. He knew what he wanted. So like, it was great. That's the type of that's the type of conversation you want to get into. But we're in the Slack channel in the background. Like, I think I'm at a used car sale lot. Like, this guy felt like he was making the deal happen. I was like, is he the salesman or are we? He's selling himself on
Right.
this, but he's like, yeah, I can't pay that much, but throw in this, throw in that, like making it happen. It's just funny. So,
There's a spectrum.
yeah, exactly. But I think it's good when you try to make sure people know what they want, because a lot of times they do. You just got to discover that with them.
So I'm starting to find that all of this stuff is kind of intermingled. Obviously, it's been a very prominent thing the last couple of months as I've tried to figure the visible branding and messaging out just to like put a bow on comprehensiveness of everything that we're doing with the brand and with the business and with the service offerings. And yeah, just like understanding it yourself on the forefront is what's going to allow you to be able to sell it. And
Yeah,
again, just like the conversations that we've started to have about doing it differently than in the experiences that you're referencing just kind of have
yeah,
the snowball effect for the different stuff that I want to figure out with the business too. But I think it would be fun to go into, we don't need to go into super detail, but I kind of skimmed over what our like business overlap lately has been. Do we want to talk a bit about what we're doing with that, like what you've been setting up and kind of like our initial processes to try to start to sell SEO a bit together?
yeah, for sure. I think so. Obviously, you had a lot of experience in this, and like you've been having deals going on in the background. I think for me, it's been, and I was kind of expressing this to you the other day. It was just like kind of figuring out how I played my part in this. Like, the sales world that I'm in right now is so different compared to what we're selling. Like, you have to really try to do all these things, and it gets into that piece like what we were talking about, is you get into like this lingo of how you talk at your company and trying to pull yourself out of that. And I think like, I don't know, I was just having a tough time with like understanding the difference. But and also like, I don't know, it's important to me to represent what you've created. Like, you've came a very far way creating what you've created, and I didn't want to do it in a I didn't want to misrepresent it. So we had a conversation, like just trying to like find my piece and find myself and like what I wanted to do and how I see that playing a part in my life. I've It's been very fun to especially have you, or I've really appreciated you just constantly coming like, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. It's been so interesting to learn how you look at SEO and how you look at visible and like how much you care. And it means so much to me that you care that much. And so it's, I didn't take it lightly, like you asking me to be part of it. And I think recently I've had to do a lot of evaluating of myself. Like I said, what do I want? And I started to realize like I want to just be myself in it. And so the messaging now built I built some messaging and sent it out. No one responded. Of course they didn't. It was terrible. Like, I reread it this last week and I was like, yeah, this is bad. But then it made me think about it like, okay, how would I want to be talked to? So now it's just something simple, and really for me it's focusing on those processes. What does that look like? Building those pieces. So finding the right tools. So finding the CRM system. Then it's, okay, how do I automate some of this process, but still keep it actually authentic? How do I find time for it? I have a girlfriend. I have a full-time job. I go to the gym every day. Okay, so now this is going to be the first thing I do when I wake up. It also excites me now to wake up at 6 a.m. Like, I have always been like, I'm going to be a morning person. And at times I have been, but this is something
Yeah.
that I'm actually like, I'm so excited to get up, have a matcha, and bust this shit out and challenge myself in a way that like fully represents me. Because I think when you get in a 9 to 5, you're trying to represent the company, and now the company is part of me, which is something that like I think a lot of people, especially myself, struggle with is like being detached from your work.
Yeah.
So it's been really fun doing that. And then to have you send me stuff and be like, yo, edit this, give me your thoughts. Sometimes it's like challenging because I don't know. It's been fun to find my piece in it and to find how it represents me as well and how it represents you. And like, I don't know. That piece has been so fun to me. I guess what's your perspective on like how things are? I know it's been kind of a slow burn here, but a lot of that's been with me just trying, like I said, to find my piece in it.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to give some historical context too, because I think as long as, I mean, we've known each other maybe, but since we haven't had as much like professional overlap, we've tried to find
Yeah.
ways to do random shit together, random like money making endeavors, some
Yeah.
that make it past the first phase, some that are just like conversations and, maybe
Yeah.
down the line type ideas. But even as long as I've done this like SEO consulting stuff and you started to get into the sales world, we started to have conversations because I think the light bulb went off early on when we said, hey, we kind of have like conducive expertises here. Like, I don't like
Yeah.
selling. I know my craft really well, and you're learning how to sell. Maybe this is something
Hmm.
that could work well together. But even at that phase, there was still some ambiguity to what you're selling. Like in the early stages, it was just like, okay, I'm going to teach you everything about SEO. You're going to just try to like
Hmm.
sell an ongoing SEO retainer client or maybe like a new website build. They're like kind of this open-endedness of services that I think made your life kind of impossible. It was like, yeah, that sounds cool. Like I do know sales, but like where do I start?
Yeah.
Who's the clients I'm going after? And kind of things like that. But a couple months after that, and again, like I don't know how in the weeds we need to get about like the actual sales process itself and what we're selling, but pretty much all by design, all of my SEO retainer clients, I like to start with an audit just to get an overarching understanding on where they're falling short. One, to give as much detail and that education I talked about to the client, but two, to build out the roadmap for the coming months if they do continue to work with us from there. And then kind of like the value add in a sense is like we do all the work up front. Our value add is take everything we found. Here's the education about it. Either take it yourself and run. This can be a one-time engagement or work with us in the coming months to implement some of that stuff we found. Again, not to get too detailed into the sales process. I think once those dots started to connect was when we kind of had conversations about like, well, you can kind of just sell this audit process
Yeah.
and help me start to streamline a lot of things with what that initial stage looks like and what the ongoing engagement looks like, but then a value add out of the gate that started allowing us to determine, well, here's the price for an audit. It varies based on the client size, the website size,
Yeah.
you know, created a list of the different types of clients that we could potentially go after based on industry, based on website size, based on deliverables. And it just started to make sense for you to be able to build your process, I think, from there. And like you said, obviously it sucks. Obviously, we're still figuring out like what's going to work because
Yeah.
I've never sold it. I understand how it's done, but I think it's necessary and it has been necessary from my perspective. I'm so in the weeds. I'm so technical. I, I mean, you've picked up a lot of this stuff just because we've had a lot of conversations about it, but like, I need to be separated, I think, from the engagement in the early stages. And it makes so much more sense for someone like you to have the conversations who's a human and doesn't, eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff 24/7 for the past 10 years. So I don't know. It's been exciting for me because I feel like I can give you what you need and just kind of let you run with it. And you're going to learn, you're going to grow
Yeah.
with the sales process. You're going to learn more about my process and like what there is to know about SEO. So you'll
Yeah.
be able to speak to it more confidently and you'll understand what a potential
Yeah.
client might want to hear. in those early conversations. And it's obviously teaching me a lot too. Cause like I said, it's really, lit a fire under my ass to like figure my shit out. Cause I'm
Hmm.
like, oh, Trent's selling this shit. Like I better have my stuff ready. Cause, he makes 100 sales, hypothetically, I better be ready to take on those folks as clients confidently. And not that I wasn't before, it's just definitely making me tighten my stuff up a bit and is making a life and career out of this stuff a little more
Yeah.
visible, for lack of better words.
Yeah, it's been interesting too, like seeing that change in you. Even like I know you've been somebody that's always, tried to better yourself and all these different things, but to see you being like, okay, when I say something like this, I know that isn't gonna connect necessarily. Like the deck that you sent me this week, I was actually so impressed reading through it because I was like, I've mentioned to you like several times. I've seen like the first deck, which was like super technical and like it was great for somebody that understands what the hell you're talking about. But for
Yeah.
somebody like me, I was like, dude, I don't know. I'm on ChatGPT every word. Like, okay, what does this mean? When he says it like this, why does it mean something different than this? And to see you'd be like, okay, this is what it is in a very short SEO term, and this is what that translates to what you can understand. And to see that, that also got me really excited to be like, damn, this is something that makes sense. And then, like you said, it's a roadmap. Like the first piece we're selling is just a check to see like, should you even extend a conversation with us to see if your SEO is something that you should work on consistently? And if it is or it isn't, like you can work with us or you can work with somebody else. And I think that's like such a good way to start a working relationship with someone is to be like, this is a test. We're gonna, we can do a small thing together. You'll see if you like working with us, and we'll see if we like working with you. There's already a money transaction then too. So we both like have skin in the game. It's easy. And then from there, now we have a plan. Like you know exactly what we'll do. You don't like working with us, that's fine. But now you have something you can go bring to somebody else, and at least you still had a good experience then in some capacity because you can hand this off to somebody that maybe you like better. But at least then, like you can still say something good, no matter what. Like the experience won't be bad. So I don't know.
Yeah. And like in
It's been so interesting.
my opinion, I mean, value and like pricing is another conversation too. Like, I don't know, some people might have certain expectations for what an audit would cost. And like, I honestly hate the word audit because so often people just use that as this vague term to like run a crawl with some tool and then give them like a list of, broken links or something that showed up. And that's why I appreciate your feedback on the decks too, because that's all my early audits were. Like the audit that I sent you, or like the deck that I built out that I sent you this time, was the 2.0 of an early deck. But the more that these dots have clicked about the education and like what's good to front load and what's good to
Yeah.
explain as we do the audit, the more clear the direction and what needs to be included in that deck starts to become. And I don't know, like I said, like everyone I think does audits. Like I don't think this is some new technology. People are going to listen to this and be like, oh, he does an SEO audit. Like go figure, because everyone has varying levels of what that looks like. Some people do those audits completely for free. Oftentimes, I think they're audits that are bullshit, and like I think we can speak well to what they entail. And like, I'm happy to show a potential client what a past audit includes, like show them an example
Yeah.
that I did for a different client. And it's just all about like the transparency. And it keeps going back to that because I've bitched about my agency experiences a lot. And even since being out in the field, I have a lot of conversations with so many people who pay astronomical amounts to SEO agencies a month that
Yeah.
aren't doing anything. And like, aren't
Yeah.
explaining to the client what they're doing. Like sometimes I'm just so baffled that people sign, on the dotted line for the amounts that they're paying out per month without truly knowing what they're getting into. Every time I have conversations with people like that, I'm like, damn, I should be tripling my prices because we're doing
Yeah.
so much to make sure that you do understand. Oh, and by the way, like we're sick at it too. So like you're going to see some super good results from it. So it's like, again, it just boils down to the commitment, and like to bring it full circle to like why this process has been so sick. It's just allowed me to commit to everything that I'm even speaking about right now about our audit process. Like, you know, we might find in a month that this is a stupid way of doing it. Like everyone might just take our audit and then run, and like it just might be a quick cash grab, but no true relationships will get built. But at least in this
Yeah.
stage, I'm really confident in the process, and I'm confident in everything that we've committed to about it, to then, find the 2.0, the 3.0, the 4.0 as we continue to get
Mhm.
better at it and we commit to the upgrades to the process along the way.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I think that's, and it keeps going back to this education piece, but it's like you said, it's so crazy that people will sign on the dotted line astronomical amounts of money and not know what they're getting or not knowing how to implement it. And I think like a lot of times companies try to figure that out, and there's a lot of moving pieces, especially the bigger the company is. Like you have to get lots of people to get aligned to it to actually make it move the way you want it to. But I think with what we're doing, it's just you can go bring this to any team that's a part of that could be a part of it and be like, "Oh yeah, I get why." And I think this goes back to a conversation I had with my manager when I started at Salesforce. I was like, I told him right away, if you tell me to do something, chances are like I'm not gonna understand. Like if you just say like you got to do this, like you got to make 50 calls every day. Like if you just say stuff like that, you and I won't have a good relationship. But if you tell me the reason why behind it and let me like talk to you about it, I'll believe you and I'll do whatever it is. But you have to give me the why. And I think that's like such a disconnect in whether that's a business or a team or a partnership. Don't just tell what the problem is and that this is the solution. It's okay, why is this the problem and why is this the solution? And that's how you get people to really, you know, buy into something. So I think that's what I'm excited about too, is like so many transactions are just like a transaction, but this is creating a real partnership and something that actually creates an impact. And especially like at the bottom line, it, it will create an impact.
Yeah.
That's how you sell nowadays.
Well, it's like good to be confident in the fact that it will make an impact. Like if we already had that part figured out, like the rest should be easy in theory, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, also too, what made me be like, damn, I gotta go is my man over here. I won't get too specific if he doesn't want me to, but leading number one in the nation for his niche all around. That shit was crazy. You sent me that screenshot. I was like, wow, this is incredible. And then, mind you, this is what, 200 categories for your niche that you work on?
Yeah, I'll explain
220?
it, and just to let me cut in so that I don't want to like really put names
Yeah.
out there like that, but for one of the big businesses that I represent from an SEO perspective, there's like 6 categories that we track important keywords for. Each have, I mean, a few of the categories have like 4 or 5 to like 10 keywords in that category, but then like the big just non-branded keywords, that big bucket has like, yeah, 250 or something. And yeah, there just was a month over month win that we were winning for all of those keyword groups from a market share perspective against all of our competitors. And it's just like a big win. And Trent, like I didn't mean to cut you off from this, but just to kind of give
No,
detail
no.
on what you're referencing, it's just super significant to win all of those categories at once, knowing
It's like unheard of.
again, to like not put the brand out there, they're terms that are pretty hard to rank for. So it's just like a, yeah, pretty significant accomplishment to win across the board. And actually for 2 brands in the same month, 2 of the brands that I represent. So I just for the clarification, but yeah, that was dope for sure.
Dude, and like I said, when I first read it, I was like, oh, that's crazy. And then I thought about it more throughout the day. I think like 6 hours went by and I called you at like 10 at night. And I'm like, dude, this is fucking crazy. Like, what? And I think you're
Yeah.
out at a bar or something and you're like, finally, somebody
Celebrating.
gets how
No, I'm
insane
just kidding.
this is. Yeah.
I know it is one of those things because it's like there's people in my space that will like think it's cool, whatever. But then there's people, and I mean like in specifically the professional space, like you're one of the few people who would understand what that means that doesn't work in SEO like I do. So yeah, I don't know. That was a cool win. It's cool to be a part of that stuff. But yeah, I mean, it makes me confident that if I can do it for a brand at that level, not that the clients that we're trying to sell for our stuff are, teeny. I just
Yeah.
think like the process is a little more straightforward. There's much more direct stuff that moves the needle. It's easy to build. Something I was going to say too is like a repeatable but premium strategy. Like I hate
Yeah.
using terms like pricing tiers or we're going to get you on X package. Like, although we do kind of operate that way, like there is levels like based on how aggressive you want your strategy to be. I just don't want it to ever feel like a conveyor belt experience. So it's taking some of the stuff that I'm doing for these big, big brands in these super, super competitive industries and find like a more streamlined version of that we can repeat, but still keep it, top tier
Yeah.
premium.
Yeah. Well, and it's still customizable and because of the roadmap too.
Yeah.
One thing that I do want to jump in real quick. I know we got a little bit of time left here is, that confidence piece. I think something that a lot of people look for is different ways to find confidence. And I think one of those things is like seeing growth in other things. So I know for you, you're the man of the most hobbies out of anything I've ever heard of. Like anytime there's like a new cool thing, you're gonna try it. So maybe just like highlight on some of those hobbies that you have that really have you've seen growth in, but then also that like how that shifts into giving you confidence moving forward with just everyday activities or work, whatever it may be.
Yeah. I mean, I think confidence is one thing, but just like a hobby that can take my brain out of the stuff I'm thinking about during the day. Like, I don't know if we've talked about it a ton on here, but biking is something I've gotten pretty obsessed with. Road biking. We have obviously such a good trail system around us in Minneapolis that I don't know, this is kind of a timely conversation because I've always lifted. It's a conversation that we've had and I've kind of wrestled with uh what my like primary workout type is in order to help distract myself, but also like use as an outlet to get out some of the stress and whatever feelings from the workday. But this summer I was struggling a bit with spreading that a little too thin, as you mentioned, with all the different types of stuff like golf league.
Yeah.
We were in a kickball league that just was kind of for fun on Wednesdays. We were in a softball
Yeah.
league, or I'm in a softball league on Thursdays. But then yeah, trying to get bike rides in, trying to go on runs, trying to lift. To make a long story short, like I feel like I'm back in a good place where like you're explaining, I'm able to channel some of those hobbies into fully taking my brain off of work stuff and injecting that into the bike ride, into the lift
Hmm.
now, which I'm like starting to fall back in love with again that I haven't in a while. I just kind of got sick of it. But I think it's always been important for me. Like I said, lifting was kind of that outlet. Like obviously there's like the physical exertion aspect that helps with
Yeah.
just getting some of that shit off my chest. But just to have something to apply, I don't want to say pressure, but like the same amount of effort into getting better as you would in a business. Like obviously with this visible stuff and with career stuff, there's so many external factors and things that play into your success. But I think having something for you to manually get better at on your own that you could like see progression and performance improvements pretty directly. Like I don't go to bike ride for a few weeks. It sucks when I go back out there because I lost the stamina. My legs will get tired quick. Like it might not feel as, fun uh and as much of a weight off my shoulders as it does when I'm like confidently able to bike. So I don't know. I just feel like there's like a direct comparison between being able to challenge yourself in something that's a little less impacted by financial incentive or building something from a career perspective. Having something, yeah, like that, I think is always good to juxtapose the two. But I know you have one that's new in your
Wait,
life
wait,
that,
before we get into that,
yeah,
like how hard is like the showing up piece? I think that's the part like where most people just like lose interest in something, or like they start to feel bad about not being able to show up. Like how, with someone that's as busy as you are and with like trying so many different things, can you just talk about that piece?
yeah. Well, I think the grind, I mean, it's going to sound corny, but I feel like the grind is like my favorite part. Caroline and I were just having this conversation because as long as I've known her, she's always been a good runner. Like she's run half marathons. Like she always is out going on runs. As we've gotten busier, she hasn't gotten to go on as many runs. So like the other day she went out and she was like, "Oh, I only ran X miles," and I was so gassed. And what I said, and like I realized in the moment was, you don't get good at it on accident. You get good at because you put the time in. Like
Yeah.
whether it's biking, whether it's lifting or whatever, like it's gonna suck up until the point that it doesn't. So it's like you have to build it back into the routine. You got to understand that it's going to take you showing up consistently to get back to a place that it feels good in order to get to that place that it feels good. Yeah. So I don't know. The showing up piece, like you talked about the morning workout stuff, like it's hard to become a morning person if you're not going to bed early. Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
you have to show up for yourself kind of preemptively in order to get to that place of it becoming a habit or it becoming something that you're good at. It doesn't just happen. I'm not just going to wake up one day and, be able to bench 225. Like, I got to work my way up to that.
Yeah. Yeah, for
But
sure. I think like in so many times too, and I know I've fallen into it, is like for me, something that's always been important is like getting to a body shape that I want, or like I feel comfortable in. And you look at the world and you're like, okay, well, I need to lift, like, which lifting is so important. I think like everyone should do it in some capacity, depending on how much they do, like, or how often, that's up for them to determine. But I think just trying these other activities that are athletic will allow you to get there. I feel like I'm in the best shape of my life right now. And I to be honest, I haven't really been lifting at all. Like I'm just strictly going to these classes. So as
good.
Casey alluded, I found my new thing, which is a mix between boxing, jujitsu, and MMA. I joined a gym. It's called Project Achilles, and it's been
Shout out.
amazing. Like I had to, just because like my guy Armand is the man. It's something I had always talked about trying, but there's that fear of like you're going to go get in a fight when you show up there. It's like that
Yeah.
scared the fuck out of me. I'd never been in a fight in my life, even though I've always been like probably a more physical, say basketball player or football player, whatever it was. Like I thought I liked that, but I'd never been punched in the face. So that frightened me a little bit. And I wanted to experience like what being scared actually means, because in life you have all these experiences and these thoughts of like what this could happen scares you away from trying. And for me, it finally went, and I've just fallen in love with it. But I was saying to you before this that today was like one of the first times where things, especially in boxing, were fully clicking, where it was like, okay, I can piece somebody apart now. He's going to throw a punch like this. I'm going to move this way. I'm going to undercut. Like, I don't know. It's so, and it's a slow ramp up too. It's not like the first week I went every single day and I was like, I love this. I'm going to show up all the time. And then the next week I was there like twice. And then the week after that, I was there 3 times. And then I was 4 times. And then it was 5. And then I went 5 like for say 2 weeks. Then I went back down to like two because things got busy. And it's just finding that way to create a schedule for yourself and then finding time. I think like so many people say, I don't have enough time. Everybody has enough time. Everybody has 24 hours in the day, but a lot of that goes into those processes, whether that's your work or that's your whatever it is. You got to find the ways to make the best use of your time so you can have even the downtime with your partner or with yourself or whatever it is. And like you said, to clear your head. I go into that gym some days just like I feel terrible about myself, all these things, like just mad at the world. And I walk out after you're done with it and you're like, I might have got punched in the face, but this is the best I've felt all day. And I feel good now and I can show up for my partner and show up for myself. Yeah, I don't know. I just think finding your thing and trying different things always is just so important.
So do you think that boxing is your favorite one of the classes that you've been going to?
I think I like boxing the most right now because I was the worst at that. Like I didn't know how to throw a punch. I was getting just annihilated my first couple sessions. But jujitsu is really fun. That one I like understood to an extent when I first started, but boxing right now is my favorite because I think it also looks the coolest too, because you're like you dodge. It's a little flashy.
Yeah. Well, and it's like a pretty transferable skill. I imagine we talked about that before. It's like one thing to get good at, biking, running, lifting or whatever, and it
Yeah.
like is good from like a physical cardiovascular
Hmm.
standpoint. Learning a martial art is like I can defend
Yeah.
myself well now, like I'm confident in a
Yeah.
fight and in protecting and whatever. So I
Yeah.
feel like that's a pretty unique
Yeah.
type of exercise and skill set to gain.
Yeah, it's different, and it also just feels like tribal in nature too. Like men have been fighting for thousands of years. So like to know how to do that and to show up in a room, like you said, you have a new level of confidence for sure. I've seen it in myself. Like I stand taller now in a room. I'm not scared to like take up any space or to speak my mind. And not saying like you need to have to be able to feel like you can beat somebody up to have those things. Just for me, it was like I don't know, you just stand a little taller because you especially I live in Chicago, so like I have a partner. Anything could happen at any moment, no matter where you are in the world, but to know that I could potentially protect us and protect myself means a lot.
I still got my money on Steph being the one to throw hands if someone busts in.
Hey, she is Latina, so it makes sense. She's just natural with it. But yeah, I know we're
This is good.
like at time. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just was going to call out, first of all, glad that you found that. I'm excited to hear about the progression of this over time. Something that I just wanted to like mention that I pulled from what you're saying about your enjoyment for it is about your ability to find time for it and how important that is. I think it's going to be cool and something that we should touch on more in the future is our process and our transition into finding more times for that stuff and like what our ideal split looks like between something like a boxing and then work and personal life and how we can get closer to ideal state for that. But I think this was good stuff. I just went and looked back while you were talking. June 18th was the last episode we recorded. So
Gee.
a few months behind. And I do maybe we can do this in the intro from now on, but call out the dates that we're recording these just to kind of have that as reference to look back on. So episode 8 here today, October 9th, 2025. Lots of good shit going on. Anything you want to add as we sign off?
No, I think this is good. I'm glad to be back at it and excited for next week too. So,
Sounds good, bro. Maybe next week we'll be from Florida, or for me at least.
yes, sir. Yeah, for you.
All right, brother.
All right, I'll
Episode
talk to
8.
you.
Yep.
Bye.
See ya.